All rise, please. Please have a seat. Thank you. have a seat. Good afternoon. We are back on the record in the state of Iowa versus Luke Truesdell, case FECR 154-866. We are in the presence of the jury. Monica Slaughter and Jordan Shear are here for the people of the state of Iowa. Patrick McMullen, Adrian Houghton, and Sam McCourt are all here for the defendant who is personally present and seated in the courtroom. At this time, we are ready for opening statements. Is the state of Iowa prepared to read the trial information?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please do so.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Iowa District Court in and for Linn County, State of Iowa versus Luke Wade Truesdell, case number FECR 154-866, trial information. Comes now Nicholas G. Maybanks as a prosecuting attorney and in the name and by the authority of the state of Iowa accuses Luke Wade Truesdell of the following crimes. Count 1, murder in the first degree, committed as follows. That is said, Luke Wade Truesdell on or about June 5th, 2024 in the county of Linn and state of Iowa did unlawfully and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Kiana Victoria Ryan at 3699 East Otter Road, Marion, Linn County, Iowa, violation of Iowa Code Section 707.1 and 707.2 sub 1 sub A. Count 2, murder in the first degree, committed as follows. That is said, Luke Wade Truesdell on or about June 5th, 2024 in the county of Linn and state of Iowa did unlawfully and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Ramadis Lamar Cooper at 3699 Linn County, Iowa, in violation of Iowa Code Section 707.1 and 707. Count 3. That said, in the county of Linn and state of Iowa, did unlawfully and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation, killed Amanda Sue Parker at 3699 East Otter Road, Marion, Linn County, Iowa, in violation of Iowa Code Section 707.1, 707.2 sub 1 sub A. And count 4, murder in the first degree, committed as follows. That the said Luke Wade Truesdell on or about June 5th, 2024 in the county of Linn and state of Iowa did unlawfully and willfully, having malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation killed Brett Brown at 3699 East Otter Road, Marion, Linn County, Iowa, violation of Iowa Code Section 707.1 and 707.2 sub 1 sub A. The true information signed Nicholas G. Maybanks, signed Monica C. Slaughter, Jordan N. Shear. To these 4 charges, the defendant has entered a plea of not guilty.
Thank you, Mr. Shear. At this time, the attorneys will have an opportunity to make opening statements. In doing so, they may explain to you what they believe are the issues in the case and what they expect the evidence will show. The statements which they will make and the arguments which they will later make after all the evidence has been received are not evidence and may not be considered by you as evidence. Further, any statement they may make about the law are not to be considered as the law of this case. The state will present its opening statement first. The attorney for the defendant may, but is not required to then present an opening statement. Because evidence often comes piecemeal and out of chronological order or a logistical sequence in the trial of a case, the statements of counsel are merely to put the facts in perspective. They are intended to give you a thumbnail sketch of the case and outline the evidence to better aid you in understanding the issues and the evidence. Therefore, please give them your full attention. Is the state of Iowa prepared to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please do so.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, opposing counsel. How does one person take the life of 4 individuals? I'm sure that's a question that a lot of people have in their head when you were told about this case. Exactly how does one person take the life of 4 individuals? Simple. Ambush. They didn't see it coming. That's what's going to be shown to you throughout this trial. That on June 5th of 2024, one person, Luke Truesdell, the defendant, brutally beat, bashed, and destroyed the lives of Ramondis Cooper, Amanda Parker, Brent Brown, and Kiana O'Brien. And how? With about a 3-foot metal pipe. There's going to be no doubt when this evidence is presented that there's one person, and only one person, that committed these horrible offenses back on June 5th of 2024. So let's go back, let's take it back to June 5th of 2024. On this date, at 3699 East Otter Road in Marion, Linn County, Iowa, Brett Brown, Keanu Ryan, Ramondis Cooper, and Amanda Parker were living at this property. You see, this property consists of a house, and off to the right to the house was, some would call it a pole barn, a workshop, a large garage. In the house lived Brett Brown's father, Lon Brown, as well as another individual named Cody McLeod Jr. In this big workshop, garage, pole barn lived in a tent Ramondis Cooper, and Amanda. And the 4 of them had lived at the property together for quite some years with Lon, with Cody. And that's on this day in question, Luke Truesdell came out to the property with his father, Larry Truesdell. They arrived earlier that day, and you'll see surveillance footage provided from the property. But the surveillance footage shows right in front of the house and off to the side a little bit of this workshop. And you'll see the times that Larry and Luke arrived together, and that Larry will be seen going in front of this shed where there's this boat, working on this boat throughout the day. And then you'll see later on that day, Amanda arriving with Ramondis on his green motorcycle, coming back from work, where Brent and Keanu were doing yard work in between the garage and the house. And then you'll see there's some interaction that's going on among the 4, also going on among Luke and Larry. Everything seems to be going fine. But it wasn't. Something happened. And what you'll see in this footage is that Ramondis goes into the garage where his truck is parked. It appears later on through footages and surveillance footage, body cam, that he appeared to probably be working on his truck because the hood is up. And that you'll see Amanda go in and come out with a glass of water to talk to Keon, talk to Brent. Little did she realize that would be the last few minutes of her life. Because what you also see before she goes in, the last time you ever see her alive, is you see the defendant, Luke, go in right after Vermont. And after Amanda goes in, some time goes on, and the surveillance footage you see, and you'll hear this loud wind. Don't get me wrong, it was very, very windy that day. Not many officers, people that were there tell you about how strong the wind was. But luckily, a brief second, it stops, and you hear a loud scream. The last scream of life from Amanda Parker. And what this scream does, it stops Kiana and Brent from doing what they were doing. It stops them and kind of give each other a look of, did you hear something? And you'll see these two make their way up to the shop. As they're approaching the shop, one person comes out of that shop. Luke Truesdell. And as they all kind of make contact as they walk by each other, when the two of them enter into the shop, Luke Truesdell does an about face, goes in immediately after them. That's the last time that you see those two alive. And you're here throughout the case. The chaos shortly arrives after the fact. That information is passed to Larry, information is passed to Lon, and you can see the interaction of Luke and Larry through the surveillance footage, of Larry throwing his arms up. You can hear things, of confusion of what is going on. And eventually, Lon Brown's son, Matt Brown, receives a call from his dad that 4 people are hurt, 4 people are dead or something, you need to call 911 or call an ambulance. Matt is at work this day. He doesn't live at the property. He's familiar with who lives there. He's familiar with the 4 individuals. But he gets this call. And Matt's going to come and he's going to talk to you about getting this call while he's at work. So he gets this call and he leaves. He arrives. His brother shortly arrives after him. And he sees that both garage doors are down. Double-stall garage doors. And in between the 2 double-stall garage doors, there's a regular door, entrance, that's slightly open. As he walks to the garage to see what's going on, he starts to smell like burnt oil, some fumes, and he thinks to himself, surely they're not dumb enough to work on something with the door shut. Thinking that this could be a carbon monoxide issue or some type of issue. Little did he realize the chaos that he was about to walk into, the brutality, the horror of this scene. As he walks through the door, hits the garage door on the right to open up, to air out. His brother hits the left side door. He sees standing off to the left of him, to the right of him, blood. 2 individuals. And on the right, in front of a truck, he sees a pile of blood with Ramondis Cooper and his brother, Brent Brown. To the left of them, by what appears to be a seat taken out of the back of a vehicle, sees another pile of blood. Kiana Ryan. And he is shocked at what's going on. He has no idea how this happened. And he's told in the back corner, wedged between a table and other equipment, is Amanda Parker, bashed and beaten. And that's also, without a shirt on, trying to provide some assistance to his brother, is Larry Truesdell. Luke Truesdell is nowhere to be found. It's later discovered that he's sitting in the house with Lon, doing nothing. He's panicking. It's chaotic. He's got his phone out. He dials 911. You'll hear that call. You hear the fear, the loss, the confusion in his voice. And that shortly officers arrive on scene. And he's still not sure what to describe or tell officers what this is. And that Deputy Jason Lopsker arrives first on scene. And his body camera was working that day. And you'll see that body cam footage as Deputy Lopsker approaches this garage and is met by Matt Brown, who's clearly distraught, upset, confused about what is going on. Deputy Lockhart is also walking to a situation where he has no idea what it actually is. He's told it's some type of carbon monoxide poisoning, a possibility. But what he walks into is something far from that. He walks into a murder scene where they find 4 individuals. 3 are already dead. 1, Brett Brown, hanging on for his life. Other officers arrived on scene. Trooper Tyler Fairbanks, second officer on scene, quickly starts to take some photographs. Eventually, other officers arrive on scene. Sergeant Eric Lear, Sergeant Tim Payne, at the time was Sergeant Todd Egley, but now Lieutenant Todd Egley, as well as numerous other officers and paramedics, to try to figure out what is going on. Questioning themselves, how does 4 individuals get taken down where no one has any signs of defense wounds? And they get that answer that day. They get that answer from one person, Luke Truesdell. When they approach him, he's sitting outside on the deck of Lon Brown's house. They talk to him. They talk to everybody trying to figure out what exactly happened. What's going on? And just casually, out of nowhere, Luke says, "I hit him." And they locate what he hit them with. 3-foot black pipe covered in blood and hair belonging to Keanu Ryan. And they take him down to the station. Lieutenant Egley rides with him in the back seat. He makes several other statements and admissions about things that were said, things that happened. And you'll see this scene. You'll see what's called a Faro scan. Basically, a fly-through video of how big this area is. You'll see the individual photographs of the beaten, lifeless bodies of these 4 individuals. You'll hear testimony from DCI criminalists, Tara Scott, Steve Tverdick, and how they processed this pipe. That they weren't able to locate fingerprints, and they'll explain why fingerprints is not something you see on TV. It's more luck, almost in science. But what was interesting that they did find on this pipe, 3 matched DNA. DNA belonging to Ramonis Cooper, DNA belonging to Keanu Ryan, and DNA belonging to Luke Truesdell, the person who said, "I hit them." And lastly, you'll hear testimony from Assistant State Medical Examiner, Dr. Roy Buell. He'll tell you about the severity of these 4 individuals' deaths. How this pipe cracked and broke and shattered the skulls of 4 individuals who didn't even have a chance and didn't even see it coming. You're going to see some pretty gruesome photographs. Because unfortunately, these injuries were so severe that they bashed the skulls and bloodied and bruised their brains. And all 4 of these individuals had parts of that pipe embedded into them. This was a brutal murder. Not just once, not just twice or 3 times, but 4 brutal, bashing, smashing murder. Once all the evidence is presented, at the end of this case, my co-counsel, my colleague, Ms. Slaughter, is going to come up here and explain to you how every single one of those elements of the charges that's been presented in this case has been proven to you. And on behalf of us, she will ask you to return verdicts of guilty on all 4 counts of murder in the first degree. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shear. Would the defense like to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Houghton, whenever you're ready.
May it please the court, counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no question. Kiana Ryan, Ramondis Cooper, Amanda Parker, and Brett Brown. They were in fact attacked. It's a brutal attack. However, the evidence is not going to show you that there was any ambush. The evidence is not going to show you that Luke Truesdell attacked any of these people, causing their death. On June 5th, 2024, Luke drove his father out to see his old-time friend, Lon Brown. Took his father, Larry Truesdell, out to see his old friend, Lon Brown. Now, Lon Brown, as you heard, lived with his son, Brent, Brent's girlfriend, Kiana. And on Lon Brown's property, off to the side, as Mr. Shear said, there is a pole barn, or for those like who are from city limits, a large barn or a large garage. And in that garage lived Ramondis Cooper and Amanda Parker in a tent inside the garage. Now, unfortunately, it is inside this garage where these 4 people end up being attacked that day. You will see that Lon Brown had cameras on his property, multiple cameras. You're going to see different things from those cameras, including you may see Luke and Larry actually arriving on the property that day. You may see Ramondis, or Roe as they call him, and Amanda arriving that day on Roe's bike, on his motorcycle. And as Mr. Shear said, you may see Brent and Kiana doing yard work. However, what you will not see is any ambush. What you will not see is Luke Truesdell arguing or even fighting with anyone that day. You will not see Luke Truesdell even expressing an ounce of frustration towards any of these people that day. And despite the cameras, you will not see who committed this attack. Now, you will hear testimony from law enforcement officers giving their theory or best version of what they believe happened that day. But you need to keep in mind, it is just that, it's a theory. One very difficult thing, and I believe that Ms. Slaughter addressed it in jury selection and Mr. Scheer just addressed it, you're going to see some very brutal images coming out of this. And this is one of the more difficult parts of these types of trials, is seeing the aftermath and what everything looked like after the fact. You're going to see pictures. You may see body cam footage. You may see the inside of the garage, seeing the significant injuries that these 4 people sustained. You're also going to see a lot of blood. There will be blood throughout. One thing, however, that evidence is not going to show is despite that significant amount of blood, the evidence is not going to show you that blood being on all over Luke Truesdell. Now, Mr. Scheer brought up a statement made by Mr. Truesdell to law enforcement. Statement saying, "I hit them." He also mentioned that Luke Truesdell goes on to make other statements in the backseat of the patrol vehicle. It's going to be up to you to listen to those statements and make a determination as to whether or not those statements even make any sense or if they're at all credible. That's going to be part of what you're going to be doing. You will not be able to rely solely on the surveillance cameras that are on the property. The surveillance cameras are not going to give you all the answers. Your attention when watching that surveillance video should not only be paid to what it is that you're seeing, but also what it is you're not seeing. Mr. Scheer mentioned 2 large garage doors, 1 center walk-through door. The evidence is not going to show you those doors. You will not see that from those surveillance cameras. Those surveillance cameras are not going to show you who entered that garage. Those surveillance cameras are not going to show you who exited that garage. After you receive the evidence and you all retire to the jury room to discuss this case, you might have more questions than you do answers. And if that is the case, I ask you to not make assumptions about what the evidence is not showing you. I ask you to hold the state to their burden and provide those answers for you. And if at the end of this trial, you don't feel that those answers have been provided, you're not firmly convinced, then we do ask that you find a verdict of not guilty on all 4 counts.
Thank you, Mr. Houghton. Is the state of Iowa prepared to proceed with evidence today, or will we begin tomorrow morning?
Are we approach, Your Honor?
Yes. All right, we are going to end for the day, and we will resume with evidence tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Again, please remember the admonition that I previously gave to you. Remember the statement that I read, and be sure to give yourself enough time in the morning to get back here and be ready to go at 9 a.m. Thank you again, and you are excused. All right, please have a seat. Anything that we need to take up before we meet again tomorrow morning on behalf of the state of Iowa?
The only thing, Your Honor, is the juror packets. I don't see them over there, but we'll need to get those passed out.
I think.
Right here. They're right here.
Oh, they're right over there. Yeah,
Perfect.
thank you. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll see you back here at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.